Hi, welcome to True Creeps, where the stories are true and the creeps are real. We'll cover stories from grotesque gore to the possibly plausible paranormal, to horrifying history, to tense and terrible true crime, and everything else that goes bump in the night. We're your hosts, Amanda, and I'm Lindsay, and we want you to join us while we creep. We cover mature topics. Listener discretion is advised. Hey everybody, today we're talking about a fresh batch of cryptids.
Our fave.
I'm very excited. Yeah, we do love a cryptid.
Always.
We have a long list of ones to cover, so it's always growing. It's one of the things I've found. But one of the ones we have is from a book that has others that we will most certainly be covering in the future, because some of them are very specific.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And last month for BarkBox, their theme was cryptids.
Beautiful.
And so I was so happy seeing everyone posting pictures of like their Mothman toy for their dogs.
My thing is, if I would have gotten that, I don't think I could have like let Moo tear apart Mothman. Like, I just don't think I could. I'd be like, and that's for mom, you know? Like,
we got two Mothmen, and one is like a strong chew toy, and then the other one, for some reason, is still alive. But the Loch Ness Monster did not make it through the day.
That's fair. I mean, when you were going to say it's a strong toy, what I thought you were going to say was it's a strong boy. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay.
Mothman's a strong boy. Yeah.
But speaking of strong boys, let's talk about the Mongolian Death Worm.
Ooh, what a segue.
I thought you'd like that. I'm always so proud when I have just like a really like chef's kiss one. So there is a name that locals use to describe it. We're going to say it once because otherwise I'm just going to fucking massacre it. But it's commonly known as the Mongolian Death Worm. But to locals, it's the olgoi-khorkhoi. And from what we've read, this translates to intestine worm.
Ew. And
the reason it was named that is because it kind of looks like an intestine.
I hate it.
I know. So like, you know, let's talk about this worm. We're going to start with how it looks. As always, descriptions vary, but some people say that it's 1 foot. Other people say that it's 6 feet long.
Okay.
Similarly, some people say that it moves like a snake and that it kind of like sweeps back and forth, while other people say that it moves like a caterpillar. So it like inches along, which I just need you to know that like big scary creature that inches along like an inchworm, I cannot take seriously. I'd be like, I guess you're going to kill me because you look ridiculous and I am giggling a little bit.
As it slithers up to you?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, it inches.
Inches up to you.
Inches up, and it's like, what'd it do? Anyway.
I still think intestine worm, like snake, but okay, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Also, I don't want a snake to come up to me either, so.
It depends on the snake. Is it like saying, hello? It's British.
Most of them here just want to kill you, though, so.
Yeah. I mean, everything in Arizona wants to kill you. Arizona is the Australia of the United States.
We were having that discussion before we started talking today.
We were. As always, right? That's such a general, common topic for us. But so, okay. Some accounts of what it looks like also say that it has wings that are like retractable and that like pop out so that it can fly.
Okay.
I didn't see a lot on that.
Interesting.
I don't know. That sounds like a flying intestine worm. Sounds way just worse than anything else.
No, it moves too fast.
Nobody can agree on what this thing looks like, but some people say that it has like a brown, scaly texture, while others say that it has like beigey flesh kind of vibe.
Oh no.
And then like parts of it are blood red. And then more accounts say that it's that beigey fleshy color, but then if you make it mad, it turns red, like a mood worm.
A mood worm.
But like, okay. So several explorers and scientists have described it as sausage-like. Which, I mean, intestine, right? That makes sense. It doesn't have eyes, scales, or a mouth.
Of course.
Some accounts say that on either end it's flat, right? So like if you're thinking like of a worm or a snake, they kind of taper or have a head. Not this dude. He's either truncated on both ends or like truncated on one end, and then the other part has a tail with spikes. Okay. In terms of what it does, if you anger it or encounter it, it can spit acid at you, and that acid will corrode/kill anything that it touches. And then just casually, it also might shoot electricity.
Okay, Pikachu.
Yeah, yeah. Or it might have like an electric current going in it that is like dangerous to others, like a live wire kind of situation. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute.
Yeah. What a thing.
What a thing.
So some think that it will lay on the surface after a nice rain, or that it can be found by a yellow flowered desert shrub, which we were talking about yellow flowered desert shrubs before this too. Not even related to the cryptid.
Well, what this makes me think of is the carry that we talked about that is supposed to be like near tree roots.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was like, that's interesting that we're thinking like cryptids like to be in root systems.
Yeah. Yeah, don't fuck with plants is what I'm getting. Because then something is going to come and shoot acid at you or jump on your back.
It's electric.
So some people think that it actually feeds on the shrub's roots, and that's where the poison is from. But investigations into the roots show that they are not poisonous. So it's just creating its own poison or acid.
As one does, right?
Of course. So Dr. A.D. Simakov, a Soviet scientist from the 1930s who worked in Mongolia, wrote the following details about the worm in his travel diary. It wraps its entire body around its prey, then it swallows it whole, again like a snake. It comes to the surface when it rains or during its reproductive period, which I guess like a lot of animals do that, right? Think of like frogs and stuff.
Yeah, this is like basic animal stuff. And if you're thinking like worms generally, you only see worms on the sidewalk when it rains, right?
We don't really see them here.
Well, yeah, because there's not like worm habitats.
But I hear that people do see them in like gardens and stuff.
It just occurred to me that like you don't have like Earth where like worms can exist.
No.
You live in like the Spice Planet in Dune.
Pretty much.
Which also, like, by the way, that's what we're basically talking about is the fucking Dune worm. Like, that's what a lot of people like liken this to is the Dune worm, which, have you seen the first or second Dune?
I think the first one.
Okay. Have you seen the Dune popcorn bucket?
Yes, it's terrifying.
One of my favorite, like, just pieces of entertainment content is watching, like, the press interviews where they're like showing them the bucket and they're like, we don't want to talk about this. And it's like, obviously the actors had nothing to do with it, but it's just very funny that they're like, have you seen this? And they're like, yeah, we have. Like, they're not proud of it.
So back to the scientist notes. So this worm is typically light in color, but then like Lindsay said, it turns red when angered. So he also wrote that down.
Mood worm.
However, all around, there's never been any physical evidence that this worm has been found. And people theorize that it lives underground and that it comes up for food. Maybe that's why it comes up when it rains. Who could know? Some think that it hibernates all year and only surfaces in June or July.
So specific.
So let's talk about the history of this thing. Per Agnes Bertalen, who is an expert on Mongolian folklore and languages, stories about the worm have been passed down through generations. The worm's first appearance in writing is from Roy Chapman's accounts of Gobi expeditions from the 1920s. Some describe Chapman as a real-life Indiana Jones.
He is fascinating. I was like resisting the urge to like go down an entire rabbit hole on him. But I was like, we're talking about the Mongolian Death Worm. But I'm just like, what do you mean a real life Indiana Jones?
Tell me of your adventures.
Tell me about it, Roy.
Per Chapman, the local government asked him to capture the worm, if possible, when he was applying for his work permits for his trip. Chapman encountered many people who believed in the worm's existence despite having never seen it themselves. So people are like, it exists. You might be able to find it. They could also describe what it looked like, which is weird, like if no one had seen it before.
Yeah, and most people, like, when you're talking in like groups of people, it seemed like they were talking in like common descriptions. So like most people are like, it's like a beigey flesh color. It's got a flat face. The spiked tail is kind of a more rare description of it.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that that's kind of interesting that like no one's seeing it or encountering it themselves for the most part, but they all agree on what it looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, if someone says, I saw it, or like, this is what it looks like, and you've never seen it, like, you probably would take their word for it as it's passed down. So there are also reports that in 1922, the prime minister described the death worm to a Western explorer. Some sources say that this Western explorer was Roy Chapman. So like multiple people are telling him about this thing. Then it has also been reported that in the mid-1900s, the Mongolian communist regime banned research or discussion of the worm. They're like, don't talk about it. Don't look at it. Don't discuss anything. It's not here.
I mean, okay. It's also just interesting because if you're thinking like mid-1900s, that's right after World War II, where there was an uptick in different political regimes wanting to know more about like things outside of generally accepted science. So it's the idea that they're like, we're banning discussions of this, I find fascinating. So let's talk about some sightings and experiences. These are stories that people have written. What's interesting is that for the most part, these are not first-person stories. These are stories that someone else has written about someone else's experience. So there's a report that a group of camel herders had lost their entire flock of camels. And what had happened was that the camels had walked over a patch of sand and they all just kind of like dropped dead. And they were like, that's weird. And then they saw that like there was a death worm underneath.
It's so sad.
Because the sand started moving and they're like, that's bizarre. And then separately, we're going to talk about him more in a moment. But there's an explorer and person who's like very like, yeah, cryptids, named Ivan Mackerel. And he was talking to guides and they were telling him that there was a geologist that was visiting and they were, you know, in the desert doing their thing. And for whatever reason, the geologist is poking the sand kind of idly with an iron rod. They didn't explain why he was doing that. I'm assuming there was like a reason why he had an iron rod, because I feel like most of the time people aren't like, you know what it's time to do? Go stab some sand in the desert. Like, I don't think that's what most people are doing.
Something else to do here. But
yeah.
Okay.
Is that what you do in Arizona? You just stab the ground with iron rods. Okay, man.
And go, I wish I lived somewhere else.
Well, so he's stabbing the ground, you know, idly apparently, and then he just drops dead.
I mean, that could happen here.
Sure.
Ahead,
the sand then begins to churn, and the people who were there saw a, quote, fat death worm.
Okay.
Interesting, right? Because we have two different accounts of creatures existing over where a death worm is and then dying. And the theory there is that earlier we said that they might have electricity. It's that they poked the worm and that its electric current went into the other creature or the iron rod and transferred through, or that it like shocked them and it went through the rod or just to the camels. And because at first people were like, oh, it's the acid that killed them, right? Because that's what they thought about the camels. But then if you're poking an iron rod, acid and or a poison or toxin couldn't travel through the rod, but electricity could. So it's like, oh, that's an interesting kind of little piece of lore, if you will.
Right. All I'm thinking of, though, is that movie Tremors.
Yeah. Oh, this is absolutely like Dune, Tremors.
Yeah.
I mean, once you're talking about a sandworm, we're talking about a sandworm.
Right.
So we've talked about some of our sighting and experiences. Let's talk about the search for the worm. So in June to July of 1990, 4 Czech men went to the Gobi Desert in search of the Mongolian death worm. Their team was led by Ivan Mackerel, who I just mentioned a moment ago, and they tried a few different methods to try to lure the worm out. Their first plan to lure the worm out was like, you know what we'll do? We'll get his favorite foods. He'll come out just to get a little nibble. But nobody knows what they eat. So, like, they couldn't do that. I just love that they were like, oh, we'll just get its favorite food. People knew that. Wouldn't they have already done that?
They're all looking at each other. Do you know the favorite food? Is it llamas? Is it metal rods?
What do worms eat? Is it those roots that they like so that they can make poison or acid? I don't know, man. But I also like very much envision a giant mousetrap with like a piece of cheese, but it's like whatever worms eat.
In the sand?
Yeah, in the sand, just like sitting. Or like
with a root.
Yeah, or like a stick with a cup, and like when it hits the thing, like the little like dome goes down, you know? It's just what's going on this old noggin. But so then they set up thumpers like those used in Dune, hoping that it would make the worm come out. Okay, interesting. So not surprisingly, it didn't show up. They waited for 2 months though, and they kept searching all around, and they couldn't find anything.
2 months searching for a worm just sounds exhausting.
a big worm, though. A big death worm. So then, 2 years later, Mackerel's like, ugh, I can't get that worm out of my head. So he goes back to the Gobi Desert to search for the worm. This time, he was like, we were too nice last time. We were trying to lure it out. This time, let's blow things up. So they start making explosions, hoping that's going to make the worm come out. Shocking. It doesn't. So there are some accounts that during this trip, Mackerel met with a shaman who told him more about the worm. And specifically, what they said was that the worm was not a creature of flesh and blood, but rather was a supernatural evil who was a demon of the desert.
Oh.
Then they went on to tell him that he would incur the worm's wrath if he violated the local taboos. And it's important to know that, like, the people of this area, like, revered it. They were like, you don't fuck with the death worm. It doesn't seem like they were, like, out there searching for it and hunting for it.
Right.
They were just like, yep, it's here. Don't make it angry.
Yeah.
So then 12 years go by. Mackerel's like, death worm, I just can't quit you. He goes back. This time, though, he uses a plane to survey down to be able to look to see if they can see it in the dunes and scrublands. You know what I'm never hearing? I'm never hearing that he's, like, hanging outside in the rain. Maybe he did, but I don't think he did.
It doesn't sound like it.
But it's just interesting that if that's when it's like, this is my time,
right,
that it's like, we should just be in a plane and look down. Like, I feel like if you couldn't see it from the ground, you wouldn't see it from the, whatever, man, you do you. But so during one of Mackerel's trips, an old woman told him, I have never seen it myself, but I've heard a lot about it. In the past, shepherds occasionally encountered it, but today it is very, very rare. It usually appears after the rain, but it rarely rains here. It basks in the sun for 2 or 3 days, and then it disappears again. In a sea of sand like a fish in the water, she laughed. Usually it digs holes just under the ground, and on the surface above him, the sand is pushed in a little bit, so it is possible to see where it's moving. When it wants to attack somebody, it pulls halfway out of the sand. It starts inflating, the bubble on its end gets bigger and bigger until finally the poison squirts out of it.
I still don't like it.
That also makes it seem kind of like an inflatable turkey baster. Is that the vision?
With flat ends?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, because like the expansion, you know?
Uh-huh.
Fascinating.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Later in life, Mackerel expressed doubt as to whether the worm existed. Probably because he searched for so long and couldn't find it. There have also been many more expeditions starting in the 2000s, but none of them have turned anything up. I feel like we would have heard about some of them recently, right? Like if they found some crazy death worm.
Yeah, I feel like you would hear a lot more about it if people were seeing sightings. I think people are still looking for it and hunting for it, but I don't think that it has the same following as some cryptids do.
Right, right. So our favorite part, the theories. What is this thing? In 1983, Yuri Gerlov, a conservationist, heard talk of a man who had captured one of the worms and knew the location of a nest.
Oof.
Unsettling. So he went out to see him and the nest. Despite being told not to, he shoved his arm into the nest.
What the literal fuck?
They're like, that will kill you.
We're like, this thing spits acid and can like corrode you. In the past, people who've walked near the sand have died. But what I'm going to do is go elbow fucking deep with these like fucking dune babies. You know what I mean? Like,
right. He's like, maybe it wants to eat my hand and it'll like pull it up. I don't know.
What were you thinking?
No, he wasn't thinking. He just really wanted this damn worm.
There's no thinking, only Mongolian Death Worm.
That's going to be our next sticker.
You're welcome.
So when he pulled his hand out, he had a Tartar sand boa. And that's a snake. Luckily, this type of snake is harmless. And when looking at it, it looks like a typical desert snake. Like if its face was different and it had a rattle, I would consider it like looking like the pattern of a rattlesnake. Maybe one of the diamondback rattlesnakes.
Yeah, that's fair. It is like a sandy, like beige color with like brown markings, like darker brown markings.
But it has a different face. Like it definitely looks different. It's hard. Like patterns with snakes. I have one saved on my phone, like to know when snakes are dangerous here and not. And they're so similar. It's very difficult. Normally you can look at their snoot and see like the difference. And this one, I believe, has a boop snoot.
Well, okay. Well, first off, love a poop student and a snake. But secondly, what I think is really interesting about like its face is that you know how some snakes have like a very noticeable head structure?
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't. It just kind of tapers down. And so I could see how from a distance you might think that it's just truncated-ish.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of a hognose snake, the way that their face is, if you've seen one.
You know I haven't.
Look it up. They're cute.
Oh my God. What a little chunk.
Aren't they the cutest? I love them.
Yeah. Oh my God. It looks like someone like took the end of a snake and then just like pinched it and they were like, that's its face.
Yep. Mm-hmm. They're the cutest. I love them. If I was ever going to have a snake, I think it would be a hognose. So coming back to the theories, Bert Allen, who we mentioned earlier, said it's possible that the original stories were about snakes, which like, that makes sense to me, right? While the word khorkhoi does mean worm, it also has another meaning. It can be a word to describe taboo things like animals that were considered dangerous or metaphysically considered animals. For this culture, even if snakes are not venomous, they were considered dangerous, which makes sense because, like I said before, it's hard to decipher which one is and isn't venomous most of the time. Like if you're just quickly looking at them, they have the same colors a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, and also like a snake can still bite you. And also like just because it isn't venomous doesn't mean it wouldn't eat livestock, right? Like it could still eat things.
Yes, yes. So Bert Allen also recounted that another scientist showed the Tartar sand boa to the locals and they confirmed that it was the worm. Which again, it looks different than the standard snake.
It does. I find this fascinating because presumably when people were talking to locals, they were using an interpreter. So I think it's such an interesting thing to think about, like what was lost in translation and like the way that people describe things and the way that, for example, if you are an interpreter who is working with somebody who is looking for this like cryptid worm-like creature, when this person tells you a story and they're thinking and imagining a snake and using words in their language that might be more snake-like rather than worm-like, you might use the worm-like words because that's what the person you were listening to is looking for. Does that make sense? Like I find that like an interesting wrinkle when you're thinking of people talking to one another through an interpreter, especially when it comes to cryptids.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Especially, I mean, they're not pictures of it, right? For the interpreter to understand what they're talking about. They're just going off of what they're hearing.
Exactly. So let's move on to our next cryptid, Batsquatch.
I was very excited for this one.
I love its name. We love bats and we love a squatch. So for Batsquatch, we're going to go a little bit backwards and we're going to talk about the theory of where it came from first. Normally we say that to the end. But so to do that, we need to give you a little background information on a major natural event that happened in this area. So in May of 1980, Mount St. Helens in Washington State in the United States erupted. And the most major eruption during this was on May 18th, and it was at 8:32 in the morning. This eruption is considered the most disastrous volcanic eruption in the United States. Ultimately, 57 people were killed, and there was significant property damage. There were hundreds of miles of land that had been just completely decimated.
That's really sad and scary.
Yeah. I mean, there's also like, there's nothing you could do, right? Like there's no precautions you can take other than not being there.
Yeah.
So when the volcano erupted, it was owned by Burlington Northern Railroad, and they subsequently donated the land to the United States Forest Service. Didn't even occur to me that one could own a volcano.
Right? I feel like you wouldn't want someone to own a volcano.
That sounds like villain behavior. Does it not?
Right.
But what's interesting is like, if you think about, I mean, this is, I say interesting to some, but if you're thinking like volcanic eruption that happens on someone's property, like they own the volcano, are they responsible for what the volcano does?
Right. I mean, would it be considered natural disaster? Or would it be considered like an issue on your property? I would think natural disaster, but still.
Exactly, right?
Not a good thing to have to like even think about.
Yeah, like if your pool exploded and it ruined your neighbor's yard, you'd have to fix that.
Yeah.
I have no clue whether the railroad had to do anything, but I was like, I completely understand them being like, we're not going to keep this property. Just please take the volcano away.
I just Googled volcano coverage for insurance. And the first one that came up, obviously, this is just a very quick on the spot thing, but it said that It is not covered under a typical homeowner's, renter's, or business insurance policy. So it's probably something you have to add.
Which is even worse because imagine like you were completely unprepared for this, right? Like, whew, that freaks me out. But okay, why are we talking about the Mount St. Helens volcano eruption? Well, because the central theory for Batsquatch is that it was a creature that had a cave dwelling within the volcano or the surrounding areas, and that the eruption caused it to leave its home, and that's why people began to see it after the eruption.
Right. It's like, I can't be here anymore, so I'm going to go where you are.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Batsquatch. What's he look like? He is a flying primate with yellow eyes, a dog-like snout or muzzle, sharp teeth, bird-like feet, leathery wings, kind of like a bat. It has blue fur.
I love that.
And, casually, it's only about 9 feet tall.
It sounds like a cartoon character, and I love it.
Yes, yes. Some believe that it can affect car engines.
I love a specific cryptid fact.
It's like, what we notice? Car engines freak out when this thing is near.
Yeah.
Multiple, too, like engines plural. Okay. A witness allegedly took photos, but they've never shared them publicly. Like, we're going to keep these to ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, the first sighting of Batsquatch was in April of 1994. Brian Canfield's truck suddenly died when he was driving in Pierce County, Washington. Brian then saw a 9-foot tall creature land in front of his truck, and he described it as human-like, with bat-like wings, blue fur, and had large fangs. It's just Mothman's cousin. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. In my head, they're not cousins, but they are like besties,
Okay, they go flying with the Blair Witch sometimes, like together.
Yeah.
Hang out. Okay.
I think Batsquatch has a crush on the Blair Witch.
Oh, for sure. Everyone does.
But she likes Mothman, because everyone does.
He was nicer to her Snallygaster pet.
Yeah, that's fair. Per Brian, it was standing there staring at me like it was resting, like it didn't know what to think. I was scared. It raised the hair on me. I didn't feel threatened. I just felt out of place. It's looking right through me in a deep stare, like right through me.
Ugh.
It's standing perfectly still. It stood for how long? A few minutes? Several minutes. Then its fingers twitched and its wings began to unfold. Those wings were as wide as the road. It turned its head and looked back at me and started flapping its wings. A few minutes later, the truck just started and I took off as fast as I could.
It was just like, look at my wings. They're beautiful.
Do you see how big my fucking wings are? Like, I'm not trying to brag, but look at these. So the first interview with Brian was by C.R. Roberts of the News Tribune, and that's where the quote that we just read was from. Roberts was the person who named the creature Batsquatch. Excellent fucking job.
Yes, yes.
So after Roberts publishes Brian's story, Butch Whitaker comes forward with his story. And Butch was a local liquor store owner. He said that he saw Batsquatch while he was flying his personal plane. So he's flying in the middle of the day, and it was right near the area where Brian had mentioned his sighting was. And he kind of looks out the window to his side, and Batsquatch just flying next to him. And he did fly next to him for a few minutes, but then he just flew away. Like, he was just like, what are you doing up here? I also fly. Have you seen how big my wings are?
Absolutely, yeah. He was like, I can fly with the planes. It's fine. Look at how cool I am.
Will you tell the Blair Witch that I like her?
Will you give her this note and have her check which box?
No, because we don't want to break your heart, baby.
That's what he said from the plane.
Yeah. Classic Butch.
I can't imagine a guy named Butch who's flying a plane.
People named Butch can fly planes, Amanda.
I know they can fly planes. I don't see them passing notes.
No, I know. I know what you meant. I was just you stopped, so I had to act as though that was all you meant. But
okay. Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
So let's go to 1998 now. A trucker who was hauling logs in northern Oregon, who remained anonymous, came forward. And just thinking of, I don't know if you've seen it a lot lately, but have you seen the picture of the truck that was hauling logs and one of them fell into the car behind them? And they're like,
You know I have. I'm a millennial.
How to tell that you weren't a millennial is because any millennial would not be driving behind that truck.
Yeah, exactly. No. I still can't. Anything that is also log shaped is off limits, by the way. Oh, yeah. I was thinking poles in my head because I see poles more than logs where I am. Mm-hmm. And I was like, nope, that counts. Similar enough.
But yeah, I saw that again last night and I was laughing. I was like, yeah, I mean, I think everyone was okay. I hope everyone was okay. But how to tell that you're not a millennial and it's just that. But anyways, so this trucker, he saw a creature as well. But this creature looked different, just a bit. It had a purple nose and eyes, and it had small wings, and it was 15 feet tall. I'm just imagining 15 feet tall with tiny little itty bitty wings.
First off, exactly. What are those wings? Are they ornamental? They can't lift you. Like, you'd have to be tiny for tiny wings to work.
Not bigger.
But I feel like we're just getting more cartoon-like a purple nose and eyes.
I love it. I love this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love everything about Batsquatch. Just 10 out of 10.
I think that this particular Batsquatch that this guy saw was friends with the Basilosaurus.
Yeah, because it sounds like a lemon.
Sounds fantastic, okay? Its wings don't work, but it's fine.
Yeah, who wants to use wings to fly? Not me, that's for sure.
I mean, don't we have an appendix? We're doing the same thing.
Take it out. Take it out.
Gallbladder?
Look, I've got a fibroid on my ovary, and I was Googling how to get a hysterectomy. I'm just take everything out. I'm not having kids. Just scoop it out.
Take the appendix while you're at it. And
take the appendix. Take
tonsils?
Take a lot of things. Yeah, take my tonsils. I already lost my gallbladder. Why not?
Everything you could live without, just take it. I mean, some of
take
those
out the extras.
Use. You'd still use your gallbladder and stuff, but yeah, appendix. Isn't there no reason to have it?
I was just saying because it's already gone.
It's already gone. Yeah, that's fine. Same.
I'm already not factory standard. You know what I mean? I'm already missing parts. So
I'm a lemon.
I wouldn't say I'm a lemon. I'm just saying that I am not equipped with everything that I came with.
They took it from you.
You make it sound like someone stole my gallbladder.
Same.
I've been rewatching X-Files, and that sounds like an X-Files episode. They had a liver guy, so liver and gallbladder.
Did he wake up in a tub and everything?
No, they had a guy who ate livers.
Oh, gross. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Freaks. All right. So let's move on to 2009. Several hikers saw a similar creature fly out of one of the crevices of a mountain. They were hiking near Mount Shasta, California. The hikers described the creature's wingspan as spanning about 50 feet. We're getting insane now.
That's too many. That's too much wing.
That's too many feet.
That is simply too much wing. It's too much wing. 50 fucking feet? For what? Oh, are you doing the calculation? I could do the calculation.
No, but I'm doing something.
Well, 50 times 12 equals 600 divided by 49.5 is 12.12 12-year-old boys. Did you hear me? 12.12 12-year-old boys.
Well, what I was going back to is when we were talking about the pterodactyl, and it said that their wingspan varied from about 20 inches to 36 feet. So it's bigger than a pterodactyl now.
I mean, that's fucking big.
And we've talked about pterodactyls in our Bridgewater Triangle episode, but this is bigger than that. So originally, one of the hikers said that its head also looked like a pterodactyl, but then they later said it looked more like a bat head, which those are not similar in my head, at least.
I'm they succumb to peer pressure.
Right. They're never mind, not a pterodactyl, just a giant bat.
I mean, they are giving, honestly, the best descriptions, though. They really are.
I love it. I love it. So the hikers are quoted as having described the creature as, quote, stocky as Hulk Hogan with leathery wings 50 feet from one end to the other and the face of a bat.
All cryptids should be described as a Hulk Hogan as the base,
Like a skinny Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
With 6 arms.
Yeah, like a short Hulk Hogan that isn't blonde and is not muscular.
It doesn't look like Hulk Hogan at all, but this.
Yeah, like, okay, so I made myself laugh before I would say it. Okay, so it's a Hulk Hogan, but it has wings. It's all black. It has glowing red eyes. It likes to hang around disasters, but also around people's windows.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of sightings in Chicago recently.
But it's from West Virginia.
Yeah. Like, you have to start with Hulk Hogan and then work from there.
Is that the way that we describe every cryptid now?
If it wouldn't cost money to like use his likeness, I would want to create a board game where what you have to do is you have to describe cryptids. You have to describe everything in the world, mostly cryptids and scary things, but everything starting with Hulk Hogan.
It's so dumb. So Hulk Hogan came to my door with multiple Hulk Hogans, but they were short, with black eyes, wearing all black, in the middle of the night, and asked to use my phone.
This is our next Patreon night. This is our next one. I'm crying. It's amazing. This stays an episode proper, Amanda. This stays.
We're unhinged now.
Oh, man.
These hikers, we can't even give them credit. They're just called hikers.
Oh, what a time.
They'll find this one day. It was only in 2009. They'll hear it. We can give them credit later.
Well, we're supposed to get famous like several episodes ago, so
yeah.
Maybe these hikers, this is it.
This is it.
Maybe
the Hulk Hogan description game.
This is what our TikTok videos could be about. It is only this. I'm going to do this later. I'm going to take a video and I'm going to explain what it is, and then I want you to tell me if you can guess it back.
Okay. I love this.
Perfect.
Okay. So let's move on to 2011, if we can.
I thought you were going to say, if I may.
If I may. In 2011, a person encountered this creature while he was walking his dog in his yard, which seems like that's what always happens when you walk your dog. You find a cryptid, right?
I mean, typically, yeah.
This person went by the name Phoenix. So per Phoenix, quote, I saw something flying in the sky. It had bat wings, blue fur, and had a face similar to eyes glowing red. It was about 9 feet tall, at the least. After I watched it, it just flew away. It's like, look at my wings again.
Look how big my wings are.
So we don't know exactly where the sighting took place, just the year. Now, the next one happened in 2015. So on April 14th, a class of Spanish students in a high school in Ohio saw a massive creature fly quickly past the windows. They said it was about 9 feet tall and had a wingspan of about 20 to 30 feet.
That's not nearly as impressive. I also, this is an Ohio one, so I was like, but it's often lumped in with Batsquatch sightings, so we threw it in here. There's some others that are sometimes thrown in here as well that just look so different that it doesn't seem like it's the same creature even a little bit at all.
Right.
Amanda, do you believe in the Batsquatch?
Of course.
It believes in you.
It does. Yeah. Also, we need to say that we believe in it to push our product, so you'll hear that at the end.
Yeah. It's an experience.
Uh-huh.
And just know we are accepting funding. You could get in on the ground floor. Anywho, so we're going to talk about our last cryptid. Now, it's important for me to note, every time I say this creature's name, it is going to sound different because I don't know how to say it, and the internet won't tell me how to say it either. So buckle in, because we're talking about the Dungavenhooter.
I can't even take it seriously.
So it's found in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, but it's been seen as far as Maine, and it looks pretty similar to an alligator, So it basically looks like Hulk Hogan. If instead of 2 legs, he had 4, and if he looked like an alligator, right? So like, you know, so its legs are very short, and it has a long and strong tail, much like Hulk Hogan. But at the end of its tail, there is a bony club. Remember that. It's very important. It doesn't have a mouth.
Of course not.
But it does have massive nostrils. Also important for later. So just keep that in mind. So just like some more details about it.
Okay.
It makes a very loud snorting sound. They live alone, and they don't want to know others in their species. They're like, get fucked.
Same.
Unless they are trying to fuck. Then they're like, you. So they typically live near water sources, and they have what I'm going to say is the most fascinating eating process of any cryptid I've ever heard of ever. So Henry H. Tyron wrote about the Dungavenhooter in his book Fearsome Critters, which was published in 1939. Tyron says, concealing itself with satanic cunning behind a wiffle bush, the Dungavenhooter awaits the passing logger. On coming within reach of the dreadful tail, the victim is knocked senseless, then pounded steadily until it becomes entirely gaseous, whereas he is greedily inhaled through the wide nostrils. Rum-sodden prey is sought with a special eagerness. Let's process that.
So he sniffs it?
He beats you up. He beats you with that fucking tail until you become gaseous and then just breathes you in. Now, it is important to note that the Dungavenhooter has to inhale all of you in order to just get all the nutrients, right? It needs a full meal.
Okay. I love that the picture is from Tumblr.
Yeah. Obviously a very reputable source. The Dungavenhooter. So you're going to be shocked by this.
Of course, yeah.
But there are no sightings or theories as to whatever the fuck this is. And actually, there's really not a lot about this cryptid anywhere. Like, most of it seems to come from Tyron. There's things that talk about it in like context of like other different types of media that have like used this and like created a fictional character, but that's not the Dungavenhooter, right? So let's talk a bit about Tyron though, because he's the primary source on the Dungavenhooter. So Tyron wrote his book Fearsome Critters after having tons of conversations with loggers, primarily in northern states, about what they had encountered in the woods. And again, he was a forestry expert, so he spent a good bit of time in these lumberjack camps. So he was talking to lots and lots of people, and often he was hearing stories over and over again. It doesn't seem like he was an early cryptozoologist, but rather just somebody who was like, I've heard all these stories. They need to be collected somewhere. And I love that for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he would love a podcast today.
Oh my gosh, yeah. He'd be another guest.
Do you believe in the Dungavenhooter?
Yeah. Again, we will tell you after the outro about our new product and how to keep your livestock safe from this thing.
Well, but I think the Dungavenhooter is really just the Dungavenhooter is really just, it likes drunks. So, we can expand into a fashion line.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
For drunk humans. I love this for us.
I agree. Yeah. That'll be once we get our
perfect
funding.
Mm-hmm.
We can expand our size.
Yeah. Loving it. Loving it for us.
So that's our cryptids today.
Yeah.
Fucking fantastic cryptids. Lesser known. Well, if you have a cryptid that we haven't yet covered and you'd like us to, let us know. All the ways to contact us are in our outro. And we would love to cover any cryptid or learn about a new cryptid that we haven't heard of yet.
Yeah.
So let us know. Also, if you haven't left us a review yet on Apple Podcasts, we would greatly appreciate it. If you do and you send us a screenshot, we would love to send you a sticker. So just send us your mailing address and the screenshot and we'll get that out to you.
Yeah. We really, really appreciate reviews because it helps other people find us. Mm-hmm. And the algorithm of Apple Podcasts will list people in the order of like ratings to a certain extent.
Mhm.
So it helps more people find us and such and all the things. So we appreciate you listening, but also leaving a review.
And it makes our day.
Oh my gosh, whenever we get a review, we're like, oh my gosh. Or I'm like, Amanda, I'm sorry I sang on that one podcast because it made that person really mad. Like really, really mad.
I just want to put more singing into it just to spite that person.
I mean, yeah, we're clearly just not for them.
Whatever. You still are spooky spice to me.
Thanks. Thanks. And with that, have a great weekend.
Thanks for creeping with us.
Thanks for listening. And as always, a special thank you to our patrons who support us via Patreon.
Please see the link in our show notes to learn more about how you, yes you, can begin to haunt the dump, guard vortexes, or even become a scorching Sasquatch.
Ooh. Also in our show notes, you can find the link to our website, more information on our sources, our social media handles, and our merch store.
We'd love for you to keep creeping with us. So if you like this episode, please subscribe, rate, review, and share the show with your fellow creeps and or ghosts.
I beg of you.
Oh, like your favorite bugs.
Oh my fucking God. Dude, they're like supposed to be like everywhere this year. And then I saw something that was like, there's going to be massive spiders. And I was like, I'm going to have an inside summer. I'm going to just be inside. I don't need to be out there. That's not a place for me.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, they didn't show pictures of spiders, so I think I can send her this to prepare herself.
Accurate.
But they think like massive spiders are already found in Maryland and it's going to get worse. And I was like, hey, at least I don't have monster spiders this year yet.
You have naturally occurring monster spiders. Don't start acting like you don't. Mine are just like imported. Like you have homegrown, locally sourced massive spiders.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I have imported ones that are just like vacationing in Maryland. They're like, we could go for our crab cake and an interesting accent.
We'll keep them there. I don't need any more, okay?
Oh no, baby. They're coming to you next.
No thank
They're just going to
No, thank
skitter on over.
Ugh, no.
12 years go by. Mackerel's like, I just can't quit you. Quit. If I'm with you.
Yeah.
Same, you know?
Same thing, yeah. It kind of reminds me of a hognose snake. The way that their face is, if you've seen one.
You know I haven't.
Look it up. They're cute.
Oh my God. What a little chunk.
Aren't they the cutest? I love them.
Yeah. Oh my God. It looks like someone like took the end of a snake and then just like pinched it and they were like, that's its face.
Yep. Mm-hmm. They're the cutest. I love them. If I was ever going to have a snake, I think it would be a hognose.
Oh my God. It is so fucking cute. What is it? That little lip? What's that little lip do? Oh, baby.
It pouts.
It pouts. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. This one's pink.
And they play dead.
Where do I get this pink snake?
Look up them playing dead, though.
Amanda, they come in pink. Look how I'm gonna say they come like they don't like exist in pink. That looks like a dick. Pink ones? They're beautiful. I love a snake. I just worry that my cats would like be like, you are very clearly a toy.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, we had an iguana. We had two. One was named Iggy, his predecessor then, George. But our cat Stimpy would like put her little paw on the side of the, like their little glass enclosure and like slowly drag it down. And her name was Stimpy because she was not very bright.
Aww.
And when she was a kitten, she kept walking into the wall rather than going to like feed on her mother. I mean, repeatedly walking right into the wall for no reason. But if a cricket got into the house, she would torture them. And so I could only imagine what she would have done to the lizards if she could, you know?
Right, that's fair. Several hikers saw a similar creature fly out of one of the crevices of a mountain. They were hiking near Mount Shasta, California.
Fun fact, that's where they make Shasta soda from. It's naturally occurring in the springs.
Oh, yeah? They just bottle it up right there?
Yeah. Yeah. All flavors.
Fun fact with Lindsay.
So fucking dumb. I could not. Oh man.
Now people are going to flock to Mount Shasta.
Hit me with that natural Shasta, baby. Fresh out the tap.
You're getting people to go hiking, though, right?
That's me, a hike.
We told people not to hike. It's dangerous.
That's me,
now this one.
a hiking influencer. That's what people think about me. Maybe I should add that to my like Instagram profile, hiking influencer. Like there's no reason for it to be there.
You know how people message like, hey, you should try our creepy gothic jewelry all the time. Now you're going to be like, you should try our water bottles for hiking.
I'm like, get away from me. Yeah, okay, now I'm definitely not doing that because I don't want someone being like, do you want to try our bars to eat? Just buy 7 packages and then we'll send you a $10 rebate. Make user-generated content. That's how you sound, everyone on Instagram, when you do that, by the way. Okay, I'm done.
Perfect. Love it. Which episode was that?
Oh, it was the one with the dumb video.
Yeah. I sent you something about pterodactyls seen in Arizona recently, too.
Oh, look, because we only have like 2 videos on our TikTok, so it won't be hard to be find.
TikTok. Maybe we'll put some of our Velisca content there one day.
Maybe. That's too much. I don't want to watch videos from you. I want to look at other things. 12.12-12-year-old boys. Did you hear me? 12.12 12-year-old boys.
So, in 2011, a person encountered the creature when he was walking his dog in his yard, which seems like every cryptid is discovered that way at some point, right?
Yeah.
Be ready when you're walking your dog.
Wasn't it the Snallygaster where somebody was like, it's trying to take my dog?
I'd be so pissed.
Like, get off. Now, you've seen like the little ridiculous like vests that they have for tiny dogs in the deserts.
They're very common here because we have coyotes. They're not ridiculous. They are great.
Ridiculous looking.
They look hardcore.
They look like they're from Mad Max. I love it. But they have to make those, but for every type of creature in the Snallygaster region. Just like massive spikes.
You're walking, you're like Rottweiler.
Yeah. I was also thinking like cows.
That would save them from a lot of cryptids we've talked about.
It really would. Maybe that's what people need to do.
We're onto something. That's going to be our next thing. We're going to create
cryptid proof. As always, are you ready, Amanda?
Yes, of course.
Wait, let me gather myself.
Okay, I won't look at you.
I have to like get into this mindset to do it. You ready?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Lindsay from True Creeps. Are you facing loss of animals because of cryptids? Boy, have we got the solution for you. We've got spikes. Put these handy dandy vests on all of your livestock. Cows, we've got quadruple X. Chickens, extra teeny, not extra small, extra teeny. Save your livestock from cryptids.
You forgot. Studies show 9%.
No. You have to try and say, hi, I'm Amanda. You have to keep going.
Hi, I'm Amanda. A cryptid scientist from True Creeps. And through our research in the last 342 years, we show that 99.9% of cows get eaten every year by cryptids.
Are you worried about the chupacabra? Not anymore.
To combat that, we have created this product. And if you order today in the next 9 minutes, not only will we send you one, but we're going to send you the deluxe version with free shipping and handling. Fuck. 9 minutes starting now. Lindsay, have you seen what this is doing to cattle ranching lately? How it's protecting their livestock and saving $300 million every 23 seconds?
Amanda's pseudofacts just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Nonsense.
Perfect. Done and done. Retiring from podcasting. We've got a new invention. Let's go.
It's what the people have been asking for years.
Honestly, the amount of money that I think the people would spend, though, like, because, okay, I want you to imagine you're a person who has like cows and livestock. Weird shit starts happening. Because, like, back in the day, they were like, it's probably a demon. It's probably a monster, right? And now people are like, oh, the internet exists. I can find out what this is, right? So they're just like Googling things. Because, like, when you have a symptom, right? You're like,
oh, I'm dying from this.
Weird rash on left ankle. itchy forehead, flatulence, or maybe farts. And you're like, dying? Like, you're just going to start typing things in. So you could put like, cow missing, chickens drained dry. Did you see me typing? Fake typing, by the way?
Of course, yes. I'm watching this.
Like, I could be real typing, but I'm not, because this is a podcast. What do you want to hear it? Ridiculous. People are just Googling random things, and what pops up to those random inquiries? True Creeps, here to just solve all things.
Of course, yeah. And then our sales pitch that's on at
Yeah.
2:42 a.m. between the two shows that ended late or early.
Perfect. Done and done. Sharks, we're here to pitch you on a...
Get out.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Lindsay, and this is my friend Amanda. Together, we've come up with the I was going to say fuck a cryptid, and I was like, that's way different. That is something else entirely.
Mark, are you ready to join in on our adventure?
Lori, we already have an infomercial, so we think that we're right up your alley. For $17 million, you can own 4% equity in
I don't remember what you called it.
True Creeps anti-cryptid vests.
For cows.
For cows. It was the pause after.
The sheep size coming soon. With your investment, we'll be able to outfit millions of farm animals.
With your investment, we'll be able to expand our livestock protection firm.
Because we don't own life. Because we don't own livestock. Lindsay. We'll be demonstrating.
Yes, I'll be wearing it. I'm the cow.
Jumping around.
Chef's kiss.
And we have our dogs trying to eat you. We'll put like some stuffed animals so then all of our dogs will want to go after it. And it'll show that it protects you.
No, I'm thinking that I am dressed like a cow, or I think honestly we should just go classic.
Okay.
I'm dressed like a goat.
Okay.
Ben's the chupacabra.
Perfect.
And he comes like lurking out from behind the little like display section we have. Because of course we'll have a stunning display.
I'll narrate.
Yes.
What's happening.
Yes.
And what they're seeing and why they need to invest.
Yes.
This has gone on a long time.
I need you to know, you could just leave this whole thing unedited at the end of the episode.
Of
just
course.
don't even edit it. Just let them have it. Let them really just experience this.
It's been a long
Amazing. It's been such a long week.
So I was talking about 2011. I sent you a picture.
I saw it, Amanda. Perfect. Can you and I both dress up as Hulk Hogan for Halloween and tell no one in our lives that we're going to do this? Oh my God. Okay. So Henry H. Tyron wrote about the Dungavenhooter. Amanda's face every time I say Dungavenhooter is just chef's kiss. There's no thinking, only Mongolian Death Worm.